President George W. Bush, and he's also a member of National Leaders for America. Thanks so much for being with us here on BBC News. You've worked in so many branches of government, been a diplomat for a long time yourself. Has anything like this ever happened in the past?
There have certainly been breaches of classified information in the past. Usually it's the result of an enemy force that has either cracked a code or gotten somebody to spill that information, or the most famous case is WikiLeaks, which was all post facto. In my experience, there has never been anything like what we've just seen over the last 3 days with regards to a national security conversation with clearly classified information being conducted over Signal and with a clearly non-cleared individual partaking.
Now, we just heard a little clip of it there from the retired colonel from the Marine Corps, and he has said the information in those texts would have allowed somebody with the military know-how to pinpoint US military locations and potentially harm US personnel in that way. Can you be confident, and can the members of the current US military be confident that nothing like this is happening in another group chat somewhere else?
Well, good God, I hope not. I couldn't agree more. I was a Marine Corps captain, and I was flying in and around the Eastern Mediterranean, Lebanon in the 1980s. The term OPSEC, operational security, was absolutely our watchword. I can tell you they went as far as not to inform us when our ship was making a movement. We would find out, the young pilots, we would find out where we actually were only at the moment of briefing. There are so many protocols, both in the United States military, in the State Department, in the national security system, and it is literally mind-boggling that these national security leaders decided to conduct this chat on Signal, which, as we know, is encrypted, but which has so many possible points of failure.
Is it sufficient for the Trump administration and the president himself to kind of say mistakes have been made, lessons have been learned, they definitely won't happen again, and let's move on from here?
Well, the president said Mike has learned a lesson. I think in Donald Trump's world, that might mean Mike has taken his first step out the door. That's pure speculation, but we'll see. I do believe that this crowd has shown that they literally don't know how to do things. There are absolute secure systems, to include secure video teleconferencing equipment that is installed in each of those individuals' homes. This was something when I was 30 years ago an officer in the State Department Operations Center. We used to convene these kinds of calls at all hours of the day for the Secretary of State, and they would get on a secure call. The term of art is a CIVETS. It's a secure video teleconferencing system, and they would talk at all hours of the night about very sensitive details, such as time on target, location of target, time of launch. These are clearly, Pete Hegseth says that it's not war plans, but I'm sorry to paraphrase Shakespeare. I think the Secretary of Defense protests too much. This is clearly, to anybody who's ever worked in national security, this is clearly classified information being discussed over a system that the Department of Defense not 2 weeks ago cautioned its members not to use.
Now, the president and the members of the administration say, but the operation was a success, the targets were hit, and, there was no cost to it, so let's just move on. Should everyone just move on, or what should happen now?
The mission was a success because of the skill of the pilots and all of the support personnel who were behind them. Clear career professionals who understood their protocols, their procedures, and it was a success. The idea that you would say, well, we whistled past the graveyard on that one, so let's forget about it, is a fundamental mistake because it means it could be repeated in the future. Again, these people have the kinds of secure communications technologies that would allow them to conduct these kinds of conversations in a safe and secure manner. The problem is that the leadership is amateurish, and the professional implementers are significantly more professional than they are. So no, I don't believe that it's fair, correct, or appropriate for U.S. national security to say, let's just forget this one and move on. Nobody got hurt except for a bunch of Houthi terrorists. I think that this deserves a full examination. And as Representative Jason Crow called for today, I think you will begin to hear more and more calls for Secretary Hegseth's renunciation and his voluntary resignation from his position, because it's very clear and it's very sad that he simply doesn't have the goods to be the Secretary of Defense.
Okay, well, obviously he would not agree with you on that summary, but Ambassador John Feeley, thank you very much for joining us here on BBC News.
A real pleasure, Katrina.
Thank you.